Hey there, friends. Welcome. If you are someone who really just enjoys berating themselves and feeling crappy about what they're doing and how they're doing, and you really enjoy living in this space of shame and self-judgment, move right along. This episode is not for you. If, however, you could do with a little more self-kindness, a little more self-acceptance, a little more space to actually be who you are and, I don't know, maybe enjoy your life in the process, stay tuned, stay right here because you are absolutely in the right spot. Welcome to Human Design with Dr. Katherine Hoffman, where we blend the best of the scientific and esoteric to help you tune into your own internal wisdom so that you can live the life your soul is craving. Hey there, I am Dr. Katherine, a naturopathic physician who loves to see the magic that happens when folks are able to relax into who they really are, rather than suffering, trying to live up to being who the world told them that they should be. If you'd like to experience that magic for yourself, you are absolutely in the right spot. Let's get started. So I wanted to take a few minutes today and talk about self-judgment because this is something that shows up for everyone at one time or another. And I think particularly I work with a fair few folks who feel terrible because they're unable to show up for their lives in the way that they're quote unquote supposed to. They're not able to do things in the way that folks are telling them that they should be able to do them. And the fact of the matter is that there is no rule book. There's no rule book for life. It doesn't exist. It has never existed. It will never exist. And I think a lot of the large institutions and schools and churches and what have you would try to lead you to believe that they have the quote unquote rule book, but it just doesn't exist. It's not there. And from my perspective, as long as you're living in a place where, or acting from a place where you are doing your best to be kind and be aligned with your integrity, there's nothing for you to have judgment about because why? Who says? And at the same time, I know this can be very difficult for a lot of folks because so many of us, myself included, have internalized shame and self-doubt and self-judgment and just a sense that we're not good enough, that we're not worthy of our own compassion and our own care and our own grace that we so easily and generously extend to the folks around us, our friends, our family members, the people who we love and care about. So how do you let go of self-judgment? How do you actually do this process of finally saying, nope, I'm not going to judge myself anymore. I am who I am. I want to live as this person that I came here to be, this go around in this lifetime. How do we do that? So I'm going to walk you through a few steps that I have found helpful, both for myself and for the folks that I work with, And the first thing is to start by recognizing your accomplishments without, this is important, without downplaying them. So many folks come to self-judgment because they think they haven't done enough. They're never going to be good enough. They're never going to get to where they want to be. They've never done anything of value. And a couple of things here. One, I encourage you to consider by whose measure? By whose measure? And the other thing here to consider is that you have accomplished a lot of things, no matter who you are, no matter your life circumstance. There are some things that you've accomplished. There are things in your life that you can own and look at and say, oh my gosh, I did that. Wow, that's great. I'm so proud of myself that I did that. Like I said, this will look different depending on who you are. And I encourage you to think back if there is a certification that you have, if you have a degree of some sort. These are sort of maybe not the easy, low-hanging fruit, but these are the more obvious things to reach for. Maybe you have a job that you've always wanted that you landed. Even if it isn't turning out exactly how you had hoped, you still got there. You still managed to get to that place in your life. Being a parent, having children, having a family, being able to show up for the folks in your life. These are all accomplishments. Being able to show up for yourself, listening to this maybe is your accomplishment for today. Showing up and doing something to take care of yourself is worth acknowledging. It is worth noting, particularly in a world where we're conditioned that taking care of ourselves is selfish and that we should always be giving to other people without paying any attention to ourselves and our own needs. And so in my book, that qualifies as an accomplishment. I'll give you an example from my life last week. I've been working on So last year I was very good at getting to the gym regularly. I think I only missed like 5 weeks where I didn't go to the gym at all. And then January and February and March, just it hasn't been working out so well for me. Trying to get in, I twisted my ankle, not feeling well, just a whole bunch of stuff happened. Life is a thing that happens. And so getting back into that habit, getting to the gym once, yes, I did it. That is an accomplishment. Getting to the gym twice in a week. Oh my gosh, I'm doing so awesome. And then last week, finally getting in there 3 times in the week. Fantastic. This is an accomplishment. Putting on your shoes to go for a walk or a run, an accomplishment. Cleaning your dishes before you go to bed, right? What I'm trying to get at here is that we all do things on a day-to-day basis that we say, ugh, that's so silly, like that doesn't matter, it's not a thing. And I'm here to tell you that actually, in fact, it is. And it's worth being aware of those things, because as you can give yourself credit for the smaller things, quote unquote smaller things, you start to be able to give yourself credit for the quote unquote bigger things. Are there bigger and smaller things? Maybe, I don't know, I'm not sure. But that's one place to start, is recognizing what you actually are doing and showing up for that. The second thing is to internalize the belief that your worth or value is not predetermined by any external set of circumstances, or it's not determined by any external set of circumstances. Your value as a human being, it is inherent in your being. And in fact, it's difficult to talk about in a world where we give so much credence to dollar values or time values, these kinds of things, because as a human, you're priceless. Your existence is priceless. You have a place on this earth at this time. You belong here. You deserve to be here. And learning to internalize that can take a lot of work. Working with a good counselor or therapist can be tremendously helpful in this area or arena. But I encourage you, as you're going through your day, even having it as a mantra, or writing it down or putting a sticky note on your computer or anywhere where you're going to see it, so you can choose this thought on purpose, that your worth is not determined by any external circumstance. You are worthy as a human because you're a human, and that's it. The end. It's deceptively simple, and I know it can be difficult for folks, and I encourage you to experiment with this and see where you can take that. The third thing, or the third piece of advice I have, is to recognize the fact that mistakes are part of the process. Wherever you're trying to go, whatever you're trying to do, it's really important to remember that you are going to make mistakes. You can't not. It's impossible. Sorry, I hate to break it to you. It's just the way that it is. And so if we can recognize this, if we can make peace with this and hold 2 beliefs simultaneously, one that I'm trying to go somewhere, I'm working towards something, I have a goal in mind I'm trying to reach, there's that side of the belief. Then the other side is, and I'm learning, and I'm figuring this out, and I'm probably going to make some mistakes. And that is how I learn. And so if we can hold these 2 sides simultaneously, it makes it much easier to come to a place of grace and self-care and self-compassion, rather than just berating yourself for the fact that, oh man, I messed up again. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I did this thing and I'm the worst ever. No. Let's back up. What did you learn? This is a key question as you're going. If you're trying to make peace, or if you're practicing making peace with making mistakes, what did I learn here? You're not failing. You're either succeeding and learning, or you're learning. And both of those are totally valid and important experiences as human beings on the planet. Oh, right. I was going to share an example from when I was in medical school. The exams would come hot and fast. It was like there was no time to really sort of recover from one before you're into the next one. Particularly in the first couple years when it's mostly didactic coursework. And I remember talking to my mom at one point, and she was also in school at the time, and she was sharing with me how she was struggling because she didn't do well on an exam, and she was sort of ruminating about it. And from my perspective, it was like, you just got to get ready for the next one. Just on to the next one, on to the next one, on to the next one. Not in a mindless way, though. This is key. In the sense of, okay, I had this exam. How did it go? what happened, what went well and what didn't go well, and what do I take away from that. So I had a number of exams that totally bombed throughout my academic career, as you might imagine. And so instead of saying, oh my gosh, I'm the worst at school, I'm never going to figure this out, I'm a terrible student forever, what the heck, I can't do this. Instead of thinking that, it would be about, and my mom trained me to think this way since I was a kid, the conversation was much more, okay, this didn't go how I thought that it would or how I hoped that it would. Why? What did I do here that led to this outcome? Were there things that I didn't have control over that led to this outcome? And making peace with all of those things and taking the aspects that are or were in my control and then applying them to the next test or exam or whatever it is. So I encourage you, as you're moving through life, as you're exploring different aspects, or maybe you're trying to get a new job, or if you're learning a new style of parenting, or if you and your spouse are working on something together, if you're trying to build a business, if you're learning how to lift weights, or whatever your pursuit is, I encourage you to consider, what did I learn? What am I learning here? How is this, what can I take from this experience into the next experience that will make me better? This is also known as a growth mindset. So a fixed mindset is when we're in a space of, I'm just the worst, I'm never going to learn this. The skills I have now are the only skills I'm ever going to have. A growth mindset is coming from a place of, I can learn. This is challenging, but I can practice, and I'm going to get better at this over time, and I might need to take a break, but I can learn this. My skill set can expand and grow over time as I do different things and am involved, with different endeavors. So, first, recognizing what you've already done, the things that you're already doing on a day-to-day basis that you may consider throwaway activities or actions or behaviors, they're not nothing, my friends. The second is to really internalize the belief and practice the thought that your value and your worth, it doesn't matter what's going on around you. It doesn't matter. You are a valuable and valid human being simply because you exist. If no one has told you that in your lifetime, if you haven't heard it this week, this month, this year, or even today, I'm here to tell you, you are valuable and you matter simply because you exist. End of the story, point blank. It just is. Can't do anything about that. And thank goodness. And the third thing is to recognize that mistakes are part of the process. Adopting a growth mindset, adopting the question on a regular basis, what did I learn here? What can I take here into the next step? What can I carry with me that's valuable from this experience as I move forward into the next experience, whatever arena that's in? And then the last aspect I wanted to talk about here today, of course, this is not an exhaustive list, and I encourage you to work with somebody if you want to work one-on-one to really dial this in. Counselors and therapists are great for this kind of work. Coaches certainly from time to time can be helpful as well here. The last thing I want to talk about today is the fact that there's no competition. Similarly to how a lot of us think that there's some sort of secret rule book that we don't have access to, and so that's why we're falling behind or we're not doing as well as we quote should be doing. There's no competition, right? Like there's no rule book. There's no secret path that's laid out that we're all supposed to be on and following at all. That's just not how life works. The way that life works is that we're all individuals and we're here to share some things and do some things independently of each other, and then come back and share the experiences and go off again and mix and match and sort in these kinds of ways. And so the question I encourage folks to ask is, who says? So if you notice this voice of self-judgment coming up, this voice of I'm not good enough, gosh, I'm just the worst, like I can't do this thing this way, I can't do life the way I really want to do it, these kinds of thoughts as they come up, I encourage you to ask yourself, who says? Who says? Where is this voice coming from? Where did you pick up this thought process that it has to be done a certain way? Who says? Who told you that? If you've ever seen the movie Yentl, she is always asking, the movie Yentl is about this woman who is, I don't know what time period, a while back, but she is Jewish and her father dies, and while her father's alive, He teaches her, and he's not supposed to. This is against the rules in that culture at that time, and in that religion at that time, and certainly in some sects still today. There are rules about what women are or aren't allowed to learn, or leadership roles, etc., etc. But in this movie, Ansel really wants to learn. She wants to go and be able to study and know things. And so she's always asking, well, where is it written? Where is it written that I can't do this? Where is it written that I can do things this way? Or that, like, where are the rules? Show me, tell me. And so I encourage you to adopt that mindset in your life. Where is it written? Who says? Who sets these rules? There may be rules that you're happy to follow, that you have picked up from the world around you, and that are aligned with your integrity, and that are aligned with your sense of, kindness, or your own personal values. And that's totally fine. I don't think that we have to abandon all of our social rules and constructs, and in fact, that can be potentially very detrimental. And most of the things that we think that we have to do or that we shouldn't do are not based in any kind of meaningful anything. It's just internalized, secondhand thoughts that we've picked up along the way. And so as you're going through and as you're working with your own self-judgment, I encourage you to ask yourself, who says? Another way to frame this is, whose voice do you hear as you're hearing these thoughts? Are you hearing your mother's voice, or your father's voice, or a sibling's voice, or maybe a teacher when you were a kid? When these thoughts come up, whose voice is it? Because it's probably not yours, because your soul has its own agenda. You came here to this planet at this time for your own reason. And so if you are thinking thoughts that make you feel small or incapable, or that shut down any possibility, if you're thinking thoughts that make you feel, limited or penned in or less than in any way, those are internalized from somewhere else. Those are not you. Those are not your soul. Those are not thoughts that you are necessarily generating spontaneously. These are ideas that have been taught to you that you've internalized. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. We all have these thoughts that come up. And the more that we're aware of them, the more that we can work with them and move through them and let them go, so that we can live the life that your soul came here to live on purpose. All right, my friend, that is what I have for you today. I can't wait to talk to you next time. Take care.